Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today the question we're going to be focusing today's discussion on is, what in the world is Nintendo planning for holiday 2026? This is becoming even more of a head-scratcher based off the most recent events. Last week you already had a little bit of a discussion on this because Pokemon Winds and Waves was announced, and it's coming out in 2027. Almost everyone thought it would be coming out in 2026, and so the lack of Pokemon Winds and Waves is leaving a serious vacancy for Nintendo's holiday lineup. But now things are seemingly looking even more vacant because we've been getting the Mario Day announcements, and the Mario Day announcements have been pretty much as expected so far. There may be a little bit more, we shall see. But as expected, yes, we did get a Yoshi and the Mysterious Book trailer with a May release date. That happened. But the debate has been leading up to this point is if we would be seeing it or not, because if we don't see it, then that would suggest that maybe there is going to be a bigger direct really soon, like in this month of March soon. But since we've gotten this trailer, that would seemingly suggest we're not getting a March direct. We'll see, of course, if nothing's 100% certain, but it seems to be another little bit of evidence to suggest that we may have to wait all the way until June for a Nintendo Direct, which may be concerning to people. It's not a guarantee. We shall see what happens. I think Nintendo needs to have a Direct sooner, but the existence of the trailer with the release date does suggest potentially otherwise. But this was something we sort of seen coming because we have been talking about it over the last couple months. But something else happened for Mario Day that are leaving people even more concerned about Nintendo's holiday lineup. And that's the fact that Miyamoto said something quite curious during the Mario Galaxy Movie Direct. So I'll just play it here.
Do you think Mario and his friends will have in space? This movie will be the main event of the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary.
And so here Miyamoto is saying that the focus for Mario's 40th anniversary is this movie, which is leading some people to believe that there is not going to be a 3D Mario this year, because in their eyes, if the movie is the main focus for the 40th anniversary, how in the world can Nintendo have a 3D Mario for this year? Well, let me play something from the September Nintendo Direct when they first announced the title for the Mario Galaxy movie.
Since September of last year, we've been undertaking various initiatives for the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary. This movie will be the centerpiece of the anniversary.
As you see here, Shigeru Miyamoto again pretty much said the same thing, that the movie is the main focus for the anniversary. Nothing has changed over the last 6 months. It's the exact same message here. Personally, I would say that this doesn't really mean much. I don't think this takes away too much from the possibility of 3D Mario being the big deal for this year. Mario's 40th anniversary was last September. Nintendo has simply spread out their Mario anniversary plans as they always do. It's kind of like a big marketing campaign, and it's all meant to culminate with this Mario movie. Afterwards, it's something else, and maybe that has something to do with why Nintendo's been so quiet. They've wanted to focus on all the Mario anniversary stuff first, and then once they get all that out of the way, once we get into April, maybe then Nintendo will start to open up more about the rest of their plans for the year. I still think 3D Mario makes a lot of sense as the big holiday title for this year, especially with Pokemon Winds and Waves not in the picture. You're going to need something huge for this holiday. Going by history, Nintendo doesn't go to holidays without having some sort of substantial release for the holidays early on into a generation. And then there's also the long history of mainline Mario, a new mainline Mario being made available within the first 2 holidays for every console as well. So I still think 3D Mario is the big bet, is the big thing that's going to be for this holiday. And I'll actually point out something else that I think is interesting. So in the beginning part of the September Nintendo Direct, when they gave us that initial little teaser for the Mario movie, they didn't tell us it was a Mario movie trailer at first. They just let the trailer play, and sure, you can probably figure it's the Mario movie trailer before they actually confirm that 30 seconds later, but they do leave it ambiguous at first. And I think there is intention there. I think the idea behind that is to tease something more. If you're watching a Nintendo Direct, the idea is to expect games. So if they're not telling you it's a movie trailer beforehand, then it should be expected that some people are going to consider it to be possibly a game before that is clarified. And so I just think it's interesting that Nintendo positioned things in that way. We've talked about some of the different posters they've shared, how they really seem to scream a huge epic adventure, something that you would want to play. And so I still buy into that. I still believe in that concept. We look at what happened back in 2023 after the Mario movie came out. In summertime, they announced Mario Wonder, and it came up for the holiday, a new 2D Mario to follow the Mario movie a few months later. I think that strategy is likely going to still be replicated. I still think 3D Mario makes a lot of sense. But for the sake of discussion here, let's explore the possibility that somehow it is not 3D Mario, and we already know it's not going to be Pokemon Winds and Waves. What in the world could Nintendo be planning for this holiday if it's not those? It seems unlikely that the next big Zelda title would be ready for this holiday. Tears of the Kingdom came out in 2023. Now we do understand that the game was content complete in 2022, but even then I feel like this would be a really quick turnaround to get out a proper new Zelda this early on. Now, maybe if it's a remake, I have been theorizing about the Ocarina of Time remake for a very long time. Although lately we've been hearing rumors that seem to be suggesting that that's not exactly what we would be getting. There's even a rumor suggesting we could be getting Ocarina of Time 3D upscaled, so the 3DS version just upscaled in the HD, which I think would be mid at best. That would be very disappointing in my opinion, and wouldn't really be a showcase of Switch 2 in any way, shape, or form, and perhaps not even worth $70. I may sound negative on this, but I just don't think that would be worth it. If it's a double pack with Majora's Mask, then sure, it would be worth it. But I also don't think that would be a great holiday title, not for the Switch 2. Would it be a fun release for Zelda's 40th anniversary? Yeah, sure. Some people would enjoy that, especially if it's more than just one game. But I don't think that would really make sense as like a big epic release for the holidays, a very minimal, low-budget HD port of a 3DS remaster. But there are other possibilities here that I think could still be worthy of a nice holiday release. So I'm going to circle back to Luigi's Mansion. Next Level Games is overdue. Typically they come out with games every 3 years, which would have meant they should have had something out last year. They didn't, so you would think they got to be getting really close. We've been seeing them hire a lot throughout last year and this year, suggesting that they are certainly getting ready to transition over to their next project. We've heard from Special Nick from the Xbox Era podcast, who has leaked several really big Nintendo things like details on Metroid Prime 4, the launch bundling of Switch 2, the Mario Galaxy 2 remaster, but there are some amiibos planned for this year, some of which are about Zelda, tying into the 40th anniversary, I would assume, which, yes, by the way, Nintendo will likely still do, just likely this would be announced later into the year, as they always do every 5 years. They never actually make anniversary announcements in February, just so you know. But also, there's supposedly a Luigi's Mansion amiibo coming as well, which would suggest there's going to be some sort of Luigi's Mansion game. So perhaps Luigi's Mansion 4 is a part of that holiday lineup, and I say a part of it because I do think Nintendo needs to put out more than just one game. Usually, Nintendo puts out several titles for the holidays, more than just one game per month here, so I think that is a strong candidate, especially if somehow 3D Mario is not going to be ready for this year. But what would be a great complement to Luigi's Mansion 4 for the holidays? Well, how about another Switch 2 edition? We're going to be getting more. What if we get a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Switch 2 edition? It doesn't seem like the next Smash Bros. Is going to be coming out soon, so it might make a lot of sense to put out a Switch 2 edition of Smash Bros. That includes all the prior released DLC, improved netcode so we can play online better, so there's not a whole bunch of lag, improve the visuals so the game's running at 4K, maybe even offer a 120 FPS mode, and then yeah, add a little bit more content, maybe like a Volume 3's worth of new characters and stages. I'm just saying, now is as good of a time as any to add Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil the Smash Brothers. Leon is at his utmost peak in terms of popularity. He is one of the two main protagonists of Resident Evil Requiem, which just came out on Switch 2. There is, of course, the history with Resident Evil 4, It is expected that Resident Evil 2 Remake will be announced soon for Switch 2. Also Resident Evil 4 Remake as well, which both star Leon. So Leon has a lot of representation in terms of games on Nintendo as of late, and supposedly even more so really soon. And he's just an iconic character that the fan base loves, so I feel like a character like that has got to be included soon. And I also think we are overdue for some pretty big updates for characters in Smash Bros. Like maybe they could add some new costumes and skins, like maybe the new design for Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Bonanza, for example. Maybe also Ganondorf can get his new design from Tears of the Kingdom. Princess Zelda with her Zonai dress. Samus's Viola suit from Metroid Prime 4. There's a lot of different things they could add in there to modernize Smash Bros. A little bit, to help tide things over for a few years before they actually have a new Smash Bros. Game ready. So I do think a Switch 2 edition of Smash Bros. Ultimate in conjunction with a big release like Luigi's Mansion 4 could definitely do a lot to delivering a solid holiday without a 3D Mario or a next generation of Pokemon. Would it be enough? I think they might need a little bit more. Perhaps whatever Monolith Soft has been cooking up so they can provide a big epic adventure as well. You have that, you have Luigi's Mansion 4, you have a Switch 2 edition of Smash Bros., and I think that could go over really well. I haven't given up on this idea of Project Legacy, this new IP that Monolith Soft has been working on for a very long time. Maybe it's not going to come out this year, but I am entertaining possibilities here, so perhaps it is. I have not forgotten about the voice actor leak where we learned that the voice actor for Cosmos in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 apparently is going to be a part of some sort of project for that character in a Xenoblade game this year, which would seemingly suggest that we're going to get some sort of re-release of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So maybe we're getting a Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 this year, or like a definitive edition, which I think might be a little bit too soon, but I would love to see that. Do I think that would be enough for the holidays? No, I think just Switch 2 editions is not enough. You need new games, and the only new game I've suggested outside of 3D Mario so far is Luigi's Mansion 4, and the Monolith Soft title, but if we're getting like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2 edition instead, or a definitive edition, then whatever Project Legacy is going to be, whatever this next new Monolith Soft game is, it would definitely not be coming out this year. Yesterday I had a more dedicated discussion on this idea of a Super Metroid remake. It does seem like Mercury Steam should be coming out with the next 2D Metroid soon. I guess in this scenario, if 3D Mario is not available and we're gonna get like a 2D Metroid this year, that would be nice. But I think a new 2D Metroid like Metroid 6 would be more beneficial than another remake alongside a whole bunch of Switch 2 editions and simple remasters. And to be clear, if we're gonna get a Super Metroid remake, I would be over the moon hyped excited for that. But I think you need more than some remakes and Switch 2 editions to get by the holidays, especially given that this is the beginning of the Switch 2 generation. So really I just go back to Nintendo needs 3D Mario, but I do think the combination of a Smash Ultimate Switch 2 edition and a Luigi's Mansion 4 would help out a lot, but I would actually argue that 3D Mario plus Luigi's Mansion 4 plus a Smash Bros. Switch 2 edition would probably be a really good set of games to have come out this holiday that would really push hardware. But what do you all think is happening? Do you agree with me that still 3D Mario is likely the big thing? Or do you have other ideas? And even if you do agree that 3D Mario is it, let's operate under the possibility that it isn't. What could Nintendo put out there that would be good enough for this holidays without Pokemon and without 3D Mario? I'm curious what you all have to say in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.